throwing fits, ripping shit, tearing it, imperative. Then I'm killing this mic no matter where I live. These derelict rappers acting a fool, this embarrassing is flagrant. That's the nature of this entertainment, and we can't even change it. Guilty before arraignment, now the system tainted. But when we speak, they all laugh at us. And y'all wonder why I'm lacking trust. Try to fight a giant with attorneys that can back them up. That's church versus science, both sides start acting up. I'm late on my assignment, hopping up a mile high, climbing, obviously never silent. New alignment, I'm defiant, cannot describe it. Used to describe it as a young graffiti artist. Before the beard, I always got carded. Hit every bar, even though my bar's been the hardest. The scars on my face, and I ain't always been the smartest. But I'll show you where my heart is. I said I'll show you where my heart is. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve. Even if the beat stops, my soul will not leave. If I never stood tall, nobody will ever see. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve. Even if the beat stops, my soul will not leave. If I never stood tall, nobody will ever see. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve. I can show you where my...
The type of guy that would ride with the breeze. I'm higher than most people. I'm cold and icicle freeze. I'm liking to Mike Tyson. I'm a bison, a beast. I'm hot like Jamaica, like right by the beach. My pops is from a spot where they're fighting for peace. 8 years old out there watching people fight in the streets. All these sirens only make the violence increase. Yeah, we're still not loving police. It's that bright young American, nice, dumb, arrogant. Tight on a mic, but he might need a therapist. Heart full of kerosene, head full of fairy tales. Said that you're my homie, you don't know me, but I know you very well. Roll back on some West Coast shit. This whole track is wetter than your dress code kiss. About to hit the track, running on some retrofit. Against all it, I guess so, bitch, now let's go.
I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve. Even if the beat stops, my soul will not leave. If I never stood tall, nobody...
Oh, it's that time again. It's Tuesday.
Love
Sports
Tuesday.
Nonsense and Whiskey back at you.
Cheers.
As you guys will notice, got a special guest in the house, our man Robert, Star Wars fanatic soccer fan, gigantic soccer fan. Filling in for Caleb. Caleb's still dealing with some stuff. We miss you, my man. Get back healthy, and hopefully you'll be back next Tuesday. But thank you for joining, Robert. Appreciate you coming through in the clutch.
Of course.
Before we get in, it's a very NFL heavy show this week. Before we get started, what's one thing going on in the soccer universe?
One thing going on in the soccer universe right now is the internationals are playing right now. So there's a lot of things going on for the qualifiers. Specifically for me, I'm going through a lot of bad bouts right now. Germany has not been coming through. They actually lost this afternoon 2-0 to Austria. It was brutal. So that's been I've been kind of shying away from that side of things for a bit, but I'm excited for the Premier League to come back and Arsenal to start hopefully bringing their quest back to get the cup this year, since they let it escape them this last year. So fingers crossed, but they start up again on the 25th. So ready for that.
I actually had a guy I'm working with, a new guy, a coworker that I'm working with that went to Austin and went and watched the USA play Trinidad, Tobago or whatever.
Okay.
And he said it was awesome. It was a great time.
Oh,
so,
they soccer games, if you've never been to one in that type of a setting, there's nothing like it. It's a totally different atmosphere from any fan base that we can have, in my opinion. It's insane.
I don't know if I want. I mean, if the world, like possibly a World Cup game like over in KC might be fun, like to check that out. Because when can you say you went to a World Cup game?
Again, it's coming here soon.
I really want to see a game in Europe. Like, I just think that would be fun. I lived in Europe for a couple years as a kid, and I'd love to go back and have that as part of the experience. So
it's a great time.
So I'm sure as things start to ramp up, I know I'll start getting more. I think on Peacock they do a lot of soccer, so they start throwing a lot of ads up for Premier League. A lot. So
So be looking this weekend. We'll be here.
Get on to Peacock. All right. So a lot of the conversation is kind of like where we're at, how the season's going. But I wanted to start with, there was 3 games over the weekend, and they're all comebacks. All 3.
Yes.
And they all happened at different times, which is awesome because then you can kind of focus in on that one game and not have to worry. So we had the Lions and the Bears playing Sunday, and I've got quite a few Lions on my fantasy team in one league, and kind of root for the Lions right now because, like, who can hate on the Lions, right? They're the Lions. Like, they've been bad for so long. Like, this is like their moment. Enjoy
Absolutely.
it, and how can you not like a guy like Dan Campbell? He always talks
Right.
about being tough and playing hard and our type of guys. And I know you've mentioned, you kind of a Lions fan. So what has it kind of meant to you this season to see them play this well?
So first and foremost, my family all grew up in the Detroit area. My mom grew up in Troy. My parents actually met at Michigan State. So that's Michigan runs deep in our family. So seeing the Lions growing up and seeing the imperfect season has always been something that's always been a core memory, if you will, that's always stuck with me throughout football. And to see them continue on when they had Megatron, seeing him, and that was like, oh, this might be a situation where they capitalize on it. But seeing them progress in this year and their program that they've put together has been really exciting. Goff, however, this last Sunday he struggled a little bit, and I hope it was a good wake up call for him for what's to come with being, I think it's 8-2 now, if I'm not mistaken, with this win.
Right.
That they can do a lot still. They're still the number 2 seed, so there's potential.
It was a gutsy win, and I know they had a comeback win earlier. I can't remember exactly which team it was that they came back and won, but this was another one where they're down 12 with like 4 minutes left. Like, I'm sure the win percentage for Chicago was like 92% or something high, like
had to be
high. And to see them keep fighting, Jared Goff, after having a really bad game, actually coming through in the clutch.
exactly.
Just something different about this Lions team. And, one of the things I really like about what they've done is they've built the team inside out. They've built the team on the O-line and on the defensive line. They're still working. They still need some more pieces, I think, to be like.
They're still new.
Like, again, if you put Detroit against the Niners or the Eagles or the Cowboys, I'm probably still picking the other teams. Do I think the Lions have a fighting chance? Absolutely. Like, I wouldn't say that they can't win any of those games, but I would just say, like, you line them up and you play, those other 3 teams should probably win 80% of the time. And then, like, when turnovers happen, things kind of happen. That's where great equalizer in sports, at least in football it is.
Of course.
So,
and statistically speaking, or I say statistically, but history showing is that if you go and look at the Lions record in their games from the last few seasons, it's always been within numbers. It's always been achievable. And now to see them actually turn around and close the deal and see them make a win out of it has been exciting, because usually, you get to the fourth quarter, last 5 minutes, it's like, oh, Lions let it go again. But hey, they're showing up, they're showing out, they're causing some talk. It's great.
Sorry, my cat just jumped in front of me.
All good. Wanted some attention.
I bet that locker room is at the point now where instead of hoping to win, they're expecting to win. I think Dan Campbell's probably, really put that out there for them that, hey, we're better than these guys.
Absolutely.
We can beat these guys. I love the Lions. I'm excited for them. I'm excited for the draft next year up in Detroit. You're welcome to come if you want to come. Anybody's welcome.
Might take you up on that if I can make something happen. Wife would love to go to Michigan and see some of my family and see the area. So I might take you up on that.
It's a good time, and it's all football, and it's all fun. And the one thing that's cool about the draft, like, you can hang out with fans of all different teams. You're just talking about your team, and we need to do this and we need to do that, and everybody's got hope. And there's a couple folks that might be kind of jerks There's a couple. But for the most part, like every time we've gone, we have met fans from every fan base that are just amazing people.
That's
and they
awesome.
just like talking, they just like talking football. And at the draft, like everybody's 0-0. So everybody's got hope.
Right.
Everybody's got that hope. We're not 9 weeks in and hope's already been crushed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that was the Lions, really digging what they're doing. We'll take a moment on the Bears real quick. So the Bears played a really good game. Obviously, Jared Goff gave them 3 turnovers.
Right.
We started to see Justin Fields
That's what I was going to say.
do what Justin Fields does, which is run the football. And he's such a weapon running the football. I'm really conflicted. He has just shown that, like, when he runs, he makes plays. So it's hard to ask him not to do that. But I got to see you play in the pocket. I got to see you be able to make throws consistently. And I know they're not, talent-wise and coaching-wise, they're probably not where they need to be to do that consistently.
Well, and that's the thing is, I mean, you look at his stats from this last week, and he, out of the 169 yards, 104 of them were rushing.
Right.
So 65 of them was just passing. So that's very limited time in the pocket. I mean, granted, the Lions defense on top of it, they limited that damage because that could have been a lot uglier of a game for Detroit had the defense not come through. So
Chicago could have blown the doors off of them.
I will just put that out there, but no, completely. The fact that there's some lacking there in the pocket and actually making yourself kind of a statue, if you will, and steadfast with your players. It's kind of a college situation, if you will, where you're expected to just rush in and get all the things that you can for a trophy you might not get. But
so the Bears are just in such a tough spot. They're going to get the number 1 pick. And they've got there's 2 quarterbacks that are almost like Caleb Williams has been dubbed like that, like generational talent.
Mm-hmm.
And Drake May's behind him getting almost the same hype. Not quite on that same level, but he's getting the same hype. And I feel bad for the Bears because I'm like, I kind of see some things from Justin Fields that goes, well, maybe, and you could trade that pick, but you can't be the GM that doesn't take Caleb Williams. Like, you just can't.
Exactly. It's something that's it's unspoken. You just got to do it. It's the logical choice, and it's the right choice. You really got to build a team around a new quarterback and really be strong in what you're going to do.
And I think my biggest thing is, like, Justin's in year 3. And to me, you got to pay him after next year.
Right.
Do you really want to pay him that $40 million a year without seeing that consistency from him?
Exactly.
Or would you rather just reset the money, basically? You're going to go through some of the same things with Caleb Williams, but at least you're resetting the money to go along with it. So, bummer for Justin. I think he's shown some things this year. He's still missing some throws here or there, but I do see some growth in his game, which I know Caleb will be like, see, Pinky, I told you.
Oh,
but it's
there's
true.
My wife in the back there.
There's Haley.
I'm coming in.
What you need?
I'm looking for your candle that you had in here.
I don't have a candle in here
That
anymore.
was a boyfriend smell.
It's not in here.
I know, but do you remember what it's called?
It's the whiskey and something. It should be the cologne I use.
Okay, I'm so sorry. I love you.
You're
I'm
fine.
So sorry.
You're
I'm
fine.
trying to disturb your podcast.
You're good. It's an important question.
Let's go. Come on, baby sister.
You have a woman that loves you. See, that's good.
Exactly.
Not everybody can say that.
Exactly. At least I know she knows I smell good, so that's the benefit.
That is really a good thing when you smell good. That's how babies happen, by the way, Robert. Just in case you were wondering.
I'm 6, almost 7 years into this now. I'm good. I know how babies are made, so I'm trying to make the smart decisions.
Got to help these kids out these days.
Hey, I know, but I look at things and what that costs, and I'm not ready for that cost.
It's you make it happen. That's basically what happens. You make it
exactly.
happen. All right. So we're off the Lions. I'm excited. Lions are fun to watch this year. It's one of the first years you can go, man, I'm really excited to watch them on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
There's many years where we've been like, can we just move this game? Like, do we really have to go to Detroit and play?
Like, do we have to watch this happen again year after year? I mean, I watched the one last year, and that was, that was last year. It was a good game, but
I thought they played a good game on Thanksgiving last year.
So, but I'm ready for this year. I think it's going to be a lot different energy, and I think it's going to be, honestly, I think it might be one of the most watched games on Thursday.
So most of the outcomes of this last week were pretty much what we expected. So like I said, we won't really talk much about those. We had the Sunday night game.
Yes.
Broncos having the Vikings come to town. Vikings were on a 5-game winning streak. Broncos were on a 3-game winning streak. Something had to give.
Yep.
And the Vikings gave up the ball 3 times. And that's what did it. That's the great equalizer.
Absolutely.
Turnovers.
Gotta hold the ball. But I will say, however, much to that credit though, now this is the updated with the win here from Sunday, but in the last 4 games, Wilson's gone 83 for 112, 74% completion, 7 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. So he's starting to show up and show out. There's a lot of cohesion going on with the Broncos offense. I'm really liking what's going on. But hey, it was a win. It was good.
They're gonna have to start opening it up a little bit more though.
Yep.
They're playing. The play calling's been fairly conservative for good reason. I get it, but like if any of these teams score, 17 points right away or 10 point, get up 14 points on us, like I don't know if we have an answer right now.
Yeah, it's I was gonna say it's kind of one of those situations. If as long as they get the beat on it early, it's good. But if as soon as somebody starts dominating, controlling, then they start getting a little hesitant and get scared.
I know we talked about this a little bit at work today, but I really like the Josh Dobbs story.
Yes.
And what he's done since he moved. I mean, I thought he was playing really well with Arizona, and he made them competitive. They weren't winning, but most of their games were pretty competitive overall. And even I went down and watched him in Arizona. Arizona was playing Baltimore when we went down there for our football trip.
Oh, nice.
And, he had a decent game, but then he threw 2 picks in that game. And that's what kind of like Baltimore took those, got points, and that's where they just kind of put it out of reach. Arizona made a little comeback at the end, but nothing, they weren't really in danger. But I just watched it, and like the way that the media hyped him last week, you would think he was putting up, Mahomes numbers, or, he was just doing, and he was just like, he's getting a touchdown, he's getting a rushing touchdown, he's getting first downs, and he'd been getting some wins, right? Winning is everything.
Absolutely.
But like they were
and especially in his position, winning is absolutely everything. But yeah, no, that I feel like there's a little too much there. But hey, he's playing great ball. It's good to see the Vikings still working together as a cohesive unit. I've always been a fan of Kirk Cousins. He was a Spartan, so there's some loyalty there. But I'm still pulling for the Vikings. I mean, that's my father-in-law's team. It's where my wife was born, so it's kind of one of those things I kind of got to go for. But I've always had respect for them. But I really hope Dobbs is gonna continue to still show up. But I think they need to maybe have a little bit of a quick check.
I think they'll make the playoffs. And what's crazy is I think they're gonna sign Kirk Cousins back for next season because he's a free agent after this season. But I think they're gonna sign him back. And with that defense, as they get some more players on that defense, they're going to be tough. They're going to be Brian Flores. I was very impressed with a lot of his, and I like aggressive defensive play callers. I like putting the offense under pressure because when you put an offense under pressure, they have to have the right answer. If they don't have the right answer, they're going to make mistakes.
Well, and that's where it's almost that crucial element of having a good back or that receiver to capitalize on it. So that way you have somewhere to go.
So, and then, Jefferson back healthy for a full year next year with Jordan Addison, with
Yes,
Hawkinson.
I've got Jefferson on my fantasy right now. It's killing me. I'm dying.
I like it.
Hey, I will say I came within 7 points this week. So, hey, I was in a total blowout like I thought it was going to be. Missing some key players. I put up some good numbers, so I'll take it. It's not.
I had a guy score 3 points because he got hurt in the first two plays. So
that was like my last 2 weeks. It was brutal. I was like, man, I can't keep anybody up right now. This is bad.
So Broncos pulled out the win in, Mile High magic, Russell Wilson magic. God, and I will say, like, I love seeing, like, the media this week has been, for the most part, probably 80% positive on Russ and the Broncos, which is great to see. After we gave up 70, after we lost to the Jets, we were pretty down in the dumps. And I will say, like, I don't mind if we lose as long as we're competitive. But man, when we lose, I don't like the media just going, like, trying to crush the Broncos and crush Russ. Like, there was a lot of things, like, Russ doesn't play defense. He didn't give up 70. It's when you're playing from behind like that, bad things are going to happen.
There's nothing you're supposed to do there. It's kind of a losing hand. There's no way to go up.
To see him right now, number 1 in the league in touchdown to interception ratio, 19-4, putting up good numbers, turning into some wins. And I would say, at least on this 4-game winning streak, we've played complementary football as a whole, which is exactly how teams win, right? It's not flashy. It's not.
It doesn't need to be flashy. It just needs to be a win.
It just needs to be a win, So I know a lot of Broncos fans last 2 weeks kind of like, oh, we should have won by more. We should have done this. I'm just like, hey, man, like the Broncos of the last 5 years would have found ways to lose those games, like without a doubt.
100%. Absolutely.
So,
and I think this year now, after last season and with the different coaching staff brought in now, there's really starting to be some good chemistry and a lot of good results coming from that. I think they just needed a little bit of a kick in the ass. But
so now I feel like we were going to get into the part of our schedule where the defenses aren't as good. That maybe we can start bringing the deep ball back out. Because I think that just, like, for us, if we can run the football and then we can play action and hit those deep shots and then put the other team under pressure, that's what we need to do. So
right, the defense is still looking a little rocky in some situations, which is not confident.
They got to shore up the run defense, but I don't know if they have the personnel to do that right now. We just don't have the guys on the D line to play that well. But again, hopefully we don't play a lot of teams down the stretch that run the football really well, except for this week. And the Texans do a decent job of running the ball, I will say. They're not bad either. So the next 2 weeks will be the run defense has got to play well in order to give the back end a chance to make some plays. But Broncos pulled out the victory. The media this week has been pretty positive, talking about the Broncos, talking about Russ. Playoffs are at least a possibility.
Potential. It'd be as long as they win the next, I think, 2 games is it?
So as it stands right now, they can possibly, depending on how things go with some other teams, they can possibly lose 2 games. And they would be, if they won 5 out of 7, they would be 10-7. And that would give them an opportunity at 10-7. Now, that is thinking that the Bengals are going to fall off a cliff now that Burrow's out for the year.
Which who did they sign? I didn't see.
Oh, I didn't see anything about them signing anybody. I know the Browns signed Joe Flacco.
I did see that.
But I don't know if the Bengals signed anybody. So I'll take a look and see if they sign anybody. So, but the Bengals are going to probably get out of playoff contention. The Jets are probably going to fall out of playoff contention. And the Browns are a team that's relying on a rookie quarterback. That I can see them falling out of contention too. So, I think they're just going. The Bengals are going with the rookie.
Are they? I wasn't
yeah.
sure.
They're going with Jake Browning. He's the rookie, so they're going to let him. They're going to let him roll for a little bit. So those are three teams right now, and the Steelers. The Steelers are fool's gold too. Like they probably shouldn't be in the mix as well. So there's some opportunity, but the Broncos definitely have to win 5 out of 7 for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And the next
I think
two
it's
are
doable. I think they absolutely can do it. They just got to keep going.
It's totally doable because they've got the Browns this week, which with a rookie quarterback, they scored 13 points last week.
Mm-hmm.
Like it didn't go well against the Steelers. Now the Steelers defense is pretty good. I think the Broncos defense is pretty good. It should be tougher, right, on the rookie quarterback. So we'll see if we keep getting turnovers like we're getting, it'll probably be a long day. But
yeah.
And then we've got the Texans, and the Texans are a tough game. And the one thing that, CJ Stroud is getting some flowers right now, as he should. He's balling. That dude doesn't have any fear, man. He throws that ball all over the field, deep, short, it doesn't matter. He just goes for it, and he's a gunslinger. And he got caught this last weekend throwing 3 interceptions.
Yep.
But he kept slanging, and that's and I think people have been surprised by that, because I've seen a lot of times it's 3rd and 8, and the next thing you know, he's completing a 25-yarder. And you're like, how did that happen? A guy was open for some reason. I don't know why you're not covering him.
Mm-hmm.
So then they play the Lions, and the Lions game's the one that you're like, that's probably an L, which is funny. Like, when in history have you been able to say, oh, we're playing the Lions? It's probably an L.
So you ready for a fun story?
Sure.
That is my one and only NFL game I've ever been to, was a Lions-Broncos preseason game. I was in 8th grade.
Oh, wow.
The Lions won, funny enough, but yeah.
I saw the Lions 2011. They came to town and they played Tim Tebow. And I remember vividly, my buddy and I were also playing in fantasy that week.
Oh, there you go.
And he had Stafford and Megatron. And sure enough, into the second quarter, Stafford throws like a 60-yard bomb to Megatron. And I was just like, holy hell. And I believe we got just dominated in that game because Tebow didn't do anything in that one. But we had a fun time. It was fun. So that was the last time I've seen the Lions in person. So would have been fun to go up there to the game up in Detroit and see them play the Broncos, but wasn't in the cards this year.
Understand that.
Let's see. All right, so positivity around Broncos country, which is good. Because we live in Broncos country, it just makes things better.
Makes things
when
better
the Broncos
at home. Everyone's a
when the
lot
Broncos
happier
are
when
winning
that
games.
happens.
There's
It's
some
great.
positivity. I'm getting text messages from people, messages at work from people like, "Oh, how about the Broncos?" It's just like,
Yes.
They're not talking about how bad the Broncos are.
Right. Like I know when Taylor's in the office, that's one of the big things we talk about is what could have been better.
So Broncos playing the Browns. I will be there this weekend. I've been to the since my son is a Browns fan. When they come to town, we go. Broncos are 1-1 the last 2 times we've gone. The Browns won one, and then we won one. So
There
this
you
is
go.
the tiebreaker. Hopefully, we'll get this one done. He is not a good winner, my son. He will literally make that an awful car ride home if the Browns win. So, Broncos had to pull out a win for me. They gotta.
I think they're gonna. I don't see them going down in that fight. I don't. And if they do, there's a serious problem. I think that's happening.
Fingers crossed, man. Fingers
Yep.
crossed, because I don't want to see that happen. All right, last game of last week that I definitely wanted to talk about was a game we watched last night.
What a game to talk about, though.
I watched this with my buddy Andy. Andy listens to every show. He's a good friend, and he's a big Chiefs fan. But he's like a fan that always wants his team to be better than they are, even though his team's been to like 3 Super Bowls in the last like 5 years, and he still will talk negatively about it. I'm like, you were in the best era of Chiefs football, and you're still not happy.
You're like, what's it gonna take? 4, 5?
I don't know. But
I mean, hey, if Stanton keeps missing those catches like last night, it's not gonna happen.
And the one great thing about Andy, I mean, Andy's a great guy. He's a great person, great friend, great brother. Is he does realize the cracks in the team. He notices like, oh, we've got this issue, we've got that issue, and I don't know why Andy Reid does this or that. So he can be objective about his own team, which I know some of us struggle with. I've been beaten down by the Broncos over the last 6 seasons, so I can be very honest about where the Broncos are.
Mm-hmm.
Clayton's in the house. Let's go. Good to see you, Clayton. Good to see you, buddy.
What's going on?
So we talked about it before the season. And I was like, I don't think Juju Smith-Schuster's like this great wide receiver. But when they let him walk and sign with New England, I just went, who's going to replace that third down opposite of Travis Kelce? Like when they need the play last season, Juju Smith-Schuster was there. And this year they were banking on Rashee Rice, Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney, and Justin Watson. And all 4, Rashee Rice has actually been really good. I just don't think they use him enough. Has been the problem there. But the other guys, they just take turns on being the scapegoat. Like last night, it was MVS. Ball literally in his hands. And to MVS's credit, for MVS's credit, he dropped balls like crazy up in Green Bay, and he still got paid. So,
all right,
he's like,
you know what? All right, that's okay. With that being said, you're not wrong. But when you're playing prime time on a Monday night on a holiday week, man, and especially gonna have to bring it up. I'm sorry, but the Jason Kelce, Travis Kelce thing. Come on. Like that's one of the big things going on, and I'm a personal Jason fan. I like him. I just like his composure. But I don't,
bro. When they won the Super Bowl in 2017, they beat Tom Brady in the Evil Empire, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then 2, he shows up in that crazy MoMA. I don't even know what type of outfit. It's like a special outfit from Philly. I was like, oh my God, this guy's amazing. Right.
Seriously though, like you can't. He's like the ultimate football man. Like not just the player, but the ultimate football man, and it's great to see.
And he's on the list of people's sexiest men of the year. He's getting some of his brother's fame / dating Taylor Swift is rubbing off on Jason, and Jason's capitalizing on it, which is great. Right. Jason is absolutely a Hall of Fame center.
Oh,
like absolutely,
of course.
And
that's no question. He's been the blocks he makes, the plays he makes, even
he had one last night on their touchdown run DeAndre Swift had. He just road grades a dude. He he pulled and he road graded the guy, and Swift was right in there. So,
Yep.
I enjoy watching him play. I'm glad things are going well. He's just hard. Like, he's just a cool guy to root for, man. So, yeah, go Jason Kelsey. God, there are so many different things. It's definitely – I saw the stat last night. I saw it quite a bit today. The Chiefs have not scored in the second half of a football game in the last 3 weeks, last 3 games.
Really?
They
Not
are
know this.
last. They are last in the league in second half points. Dead last.
Was not aware of the situation.
5.9.
That's insane.
5.9 points is what they're averaging in the second half. And if you think about it, going back the last 3 weeks, they went and played the Dolphins in Germany. They're up 21-0. They win 21-14.
That's true.
The Broncos game.
Lax.
Broncos game, they scored 0 points in the second half. Last night, they scored 0 points in the second half. They went into halftime 17-7, 10-point lead. They lost 21-17. Now, if that doesn't scream, our defense is amazing. Our offense is broken.
True.
Something is broken. And when you have Justin Watson as your best receiver outside of Travis Kelce, there's something wrong. It's broken. Yeah, Clayton, we talked a little bit about that before you jumped in. We just got done talking about the Broncos. Russ is playing winning football. The numbers aren't staggering, but 19-4, like 19-4 winning games, right? That's what you want. So I'm hoping Russ gets to 30 touchdowns passing, maybe a couple more rushing. And if we're in that playoff picture, depending on how things go, could he be in the MVP conversation? I think he could. In the conversation. He won't win it. But I'd love to see Russ get at least
If he continues on the same track he has been the last 4 games, then yeah, absolutely. I would 100% back that statement. I just think they need at least one more to really solidify what they're doing. They're finding they're finding the cohesion. They're finally getting it to a point where they're making some wins. They're making good gains on what they've needed to in the past weeks. And that's why I have hope for what they're going to do going forward. And that's why I think, yes, I will say he could be in the conversation, but I want to see one more win.
They're going to have to get a lot more wins to him for him to get into that conversation. But I think he could if he can put up those types of numbers because, and that's one of the things I wanted to talk about last night. So let's finish up with the Eagles and the Chiefs real quick before we move on, because MVP is one of those things I wanted to talk about. Man, I just like watching the Eagles play, man. Mm-hmm. I do. I love when they run the football. The tush push. It's a rugby play. Man. Until it's outlawed, it's going to be outlawed. Next year it's going to be outlawed because you know what's funny is all the other teams that are trying it can't do it.
So why then at that point, why outlaw it? If only one team can do it, really, you're going to take it away from the. So, there's not to say because again, this isn't going to be forever. There's no way this O-line at some point is going to not be able to make that happen. The NFL trying to always be concerned about player safety. You have O-linemen diving at defensive linemen's knees. They're trying to submerge and get underneath, and that's the full thing. So then there's open for the quarterback to go across. I do think there's some safety things there. Nobody's gotten seriously injured on that play yet, but it's just a matter of time. That's where I can see the NFL, taking it out of the game. Enough people are complaining about it that I feel like they're gonna remove that from the game. I guess I don't see it happening, but we'll see. I think it's a great thing, and again, a lot of teams are trying it, and it's not working, which means that it takes work. Like it takes some dedication and a good O-line to make it happen.
Right.
Plain and simple.
Which again, you know, Jason Kelsey's a great center. They've got Dickerson right next to him, and then I forget who their left guard is, but their O line is pretty damn good, which is probably what allows them to run that. But they probably have more. They have more attempts of that in a game than you will get of that in practice.
Of course.
And that's the biggest thing. How do you effectively run that in a game when it's hard to practice that, right? So good on them. I just loved seeing that switch flip. And again, it came the Chiefs were close to icing that game last night. And the Bradley Roby, former Bronco, Super Bowl 50 winner, punches the ball out of Travis Kelce's hands, which you never see Kelce get the ball punched out. Like, it's been rare.
Mm-hmm.
And boom, punched it out. Eagles get the ball. They go down, drive down. Now they're only down 7, or they're only down 3 because it was 17-14. And then they get the long bomb to Devontae Smith, put it at the 1 yard line, and then the tush push to go in. So
there it is, man.
Watching the game with Andy and him and I talked about a lot. They just don't have the wide receivers. They just don't. And Andy Reid, he doesn't like running the football enough to just be consistent at that. Isaiah Pacheco, that dude, I have no doubt if they gave that dude the ball 20 to 25 times a game, he'd probably have 1,500 yards this year.
Probably.
As fast as he was running, he was gouging the Eagles, you know, great D line.
Mm-hmm.
5 yards a carry, 6 yards a carry. Like, he was making them look bad. They were missing tackles on him. He runs really hard. So commit to that is probably, and the Chiefs aren't a play action team. They really haven't been the whole time.
True.
If they ran the ball more and then did play action out of it, I think that would help. I mean, it's not going to help their wide receivers catch the ball, but it's at least going to help them continue to get open and keep trying.
Right.
They have the most drops of any team in the league at 26.
Not surprising.
So looking at the Chiefs, then they're going to be hoping Baltimore loses a game because their schedule, besides playing Buffalo, the rest of their schedule is pretty easy. They play the Raiders twice. They play the Chargers twice. I do think they can lose one of those games. Anytime you play a division opponent, you can lose one of those games. But as good as that defense is playing right now, I just don't see the Raiders and Aiden O'Connell beating them. And I have a hard time thinking the Chargers aren't going to charge her, right? Because that's what they do. The Chargers always charge her.
I think the Chargers are also looking really good this year. They're well.
Who?
Not the Chargers. Sorry.
Okay.
No, sorry. My bad. I was looking at the wrong thing. No, I'm thinking that with the situation right now and the schedule that they've got going forward, it's going to be interesting because KC sitting at the number 2 seed, but with where they're not making up points in this second half, I think it's going to cost them a lot in the next coming weeks.
We'll see. Let's see what the Ravens got going on. Let's see. Ravens
Lamar
got
Jackson's
the Chargers.
On fire.
Well, they're without Mark Andrews, and that's a big deal. That's a big deal. They've got the Chargers this weekend. They've got the Rams. They're going to beat the Chargers. They're going to beat the Rams. They're going to smash the Jaguars.
Oh, yeah. Trevor Lawrence.
Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence is garbage. They play the 49ers on Christmas. That's probably an L.
Yeah.
I think the 49ers will harass Lamar enough that's probably an L. Then they play the Dolphins, and then they play the Steelers. Now, they play the Dolphins at home.
I think the Dolphins might take that one.
I've got the Ravens. You were going into Baltimore in the cold in Baltimore. I'll take the Ravens. So I do think they're going to lose to the 49ers. I think they'll win the rest of their games. So the Chiefs are right there. If the Chiefs win out, I think I don't know what the tiebreaker would be there. So it's going to
It'd
be
be
close.
hard to say.
I'd like to see, as great as Patrick Mahomes is, that dude's never played a playoff game outside of Arrowhead.
True.
I want to see him pack his bags and go on the road somewhere. That's
I
what
think
I
it
want
would be a good testament for his ability.
So
See what he can do in that type of situation. Because at that point, it would be a clutch situation for him.
that's how amazing the Chiefs have been.
Yeah.
That he has literally played. I think it's his fifth full season of football. Fifth or sixth. Trying to think, what was his first year? 17? 18 when he threw for 50. So 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. He's in his sixth season. He's never played a playoff game outside of Arrowhead. That's amazing.
That is actually amazing. That doesn't seem right, but that is actually pretty cool.
So I'm hating on the Chiefs. I don't want to watch them in a Super Bowl this year when I'm going to the Super Bowl. I don't want to watch them in the Super Bowl. So I'm really hoping, but the only team, looking down the list, the Ravens are the only team I see beating the Chiefs in the playoffs.
Yeah, I could see that.
And I think they're one of the few teams that can go into Arrowhead and beat the Chiefs in the playoffs as well. Because I'm looking at the AFC, and this is we'll kind of move into the mid-year review, man.
Yeah, this is where you're gonna have to educate me. I don't know too much.
Is there any other team right now besides the Ravens that can compete with the Chiefs right now?
Outside of the Steelers? No.
The only team possibly if they get their shit together is Buffalo. Buffalo's gone into Arrowhead and beat the Chiefs. In fact, they embarrassed them.
True.
Now it's been a couple years. It was 2 years ago on my buddy's 40th birthday. They were playing Sunday Night Football, so we had a birthday party at a bar, and we watched that game. And the Bills embarrassed them at home. So it can be done. It is.
It can be. The Bills.
But Buffalo hasn't looked that good.
No, they've had a rough year. What are they, number 8 right now? On 8 seed? What I was looking at, I think, today.
I think they are. Yeah, I think they're on the outside looking in at the moment. But I think after we beat Cleveland, if Buffalo wins this week against the Eagles, which is not easy, they could move back into that spot. But because, again, you've got Cleveland. If Deshaun Watson was still playing and he was starting to get better, that you're like, okay, maybe they have a shot. Without him, they don't have a shot. The defense can only do so much. The Jets, same thing. Great defense. They won a couple games.
And they just benched Zach Wilson.
So much. Thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God.
It took them long enough.
As a Jets fan, there's only so much ineptitude you can watch.
Oh, man.
And be like, oh. Watching Joe Flacco for the Broncos was hard on the eyes. At least with Drew Lock, he'd play bad football for 2 or 3 series, and then he'd have one series. You're just like, where did that come from? He'd just be slinging it. Guys are wide open. You're like, oh, yeah. He gave you hope. Never had hope with Joe Flacco. It was just like, oh, my God, this guy's horrible. So.
Now he's going to the Browns or the Bengals?
He's with the Browns. The Browns. Clayton, I hope so, man. I'm going to the game and would love to see a Broncos win. They did not win when I went to the Raiders game. Went to the first game of the season, and they did not win. So hopefully they'll pull out the win. So a couple things to talk about this year. Just kind of where we're at the midpoint. Who is the biggest dumpster fire of a team?
Dumpster fire of a team. Ooh. I don't know. I would have to really put some thought into that.
And you don't have to think too hard, man. It's the Giants. It's the
Think so?
Giants, baby. That team's a dumpster fire.
True.
They
No,
didn't pay they didn't pay Saquon.
Yeah.
They paid Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones gets hurt. He was looking awful before he got hurt. Nothing's working for them. They traded away one of their best defenders. They've got some young guys, but they've got this guy they drafted like 2 years ago, Evan Neal. He couldn't block you, man. Like, that guy's awful.
That's saying something because I'm a $120 soaking wet. So
And it's actually funny because when my buddy and I went to the draft in Vegas and we, got off the plane, got our bags, and we were walking out to where we were setting up the Ubers, I was like, that's got to be an NFL guy. That's got to be one of the draftees. And sure enough, it was Evan Neal. And my buddy and I were standing next to him, and we were like, he's not that big. Like, I've met some NFL guys that make me look like they make me feel like a small man. I feel like I'm decent size, right? Derek Wolfe, I met him, like his paws like engulfed my hand. Like, it was crazy. He made me feel like he's 6'5". Like, he made me feel like a small man. I did not feel like a small man next to Evan Neal, and he's the right tackle for the Giants. They do have Andrew Thomas, who's actually gotten really, really good since he was drafted, but he's hurt, and he's been hurt multiple times. So, yeah, I feel bad for Brian DeBall, who's the coach of the Giants. I really like him, and I think they overachieved last year because they made the playoffs last season, and I think it was just fool's gold. They had a lot of comebacks. They had a lot of close wins. And
yeah,
I feel like it would have been better had they not done that. It also would have been better if they had just given Saquon his money and let Daniel Jones walk out the door, right? That's the biggest dumpster fire. I'm trying to think of anybody else. The Panthers. The Panthers would be number 2.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing with the Panthers, I know there's a lot of they should have taken CJ Stroud over Bryce Young, and I think you could definitely make that argument. I will die on this hill by myself if I have to. As long as I think I made this point last week, when the Panthers called the Bears about the number 1 pick, if the Bears keep saying we need DJ Moore to make this trade, I tell them, okay, then I'm done. I'm out. Go ahead and draft number 1. We don't want to trade with you. I'm not giving up DJ Moore. My rookie quarterback needs a wide receiver to throw to, and I'm going to keep DJ Moore. I wouldn't have traded him. I don't care. Because you're giving up multiple assets of draft picks and DJ Moore on top of the deal.
It's not going to be a good look at the end of the season.
It's horrible. It shows up every week for Bryce Young. He can throw to Adam Thielen, and that's it. They don't have any other answers out there. They don't have anybody else consistent out there. Mm-hmm. And he's not showing any growth because there's just nothing for him to do. His O-line can't block. They can't run the ball well enough. And he's just sitting there back there. Like, if Thielen's open, he gets the ball to Thielen. If Thielen's not open, he has nowhere to go. So I think that I understand from the owner. I think the owner wanted to get Bryce Young. Bryce Young was his guy. Whatever needed to happen, get it done. Which, again, he owns the team. He can make those decisions, but his decisions were wrong. Like, he should not have gotten involved in the decisions because it was actually the coaching staff wanted to draft CJ Stroud, not Bryce Young.
And that would have made a lot more sense, like you're saying, because you need to have that that setup. And with just having Thielen, you're not doing yourself any favors.
If they had DJ Moore and Thielen, he would have more answers. It would help him.
It'd be a lot stronger team. It wouldn't be a Super Bowl team, but it'd be a team.
And now they're going to give away the first pick because they're earning the first pick, and it's going to go to Chicago, which is great for Chicago. But now Chicago got your number 1 wide receiver. They got your 9th pick, and now they got your number 1 pick of this year. Like, it's just not a good trade for you.
Nope.
And that's, as history shows, trading up in the draft doesn't normally work out. Do you little trivia question for you, Robert? Do you know in the last 7 years what trade up has? Well, there's been 2 that I know that I can remember that has worked up in the first round. 2 trades in the 3. I know 3. 3 trades in the first round. They're all superstar quarterbacks that all went well for the teams that traded up to get them.
Was Jalen Hurts one?
Jalen Hurts is not one. Philly took him in the second round.
That's right.
They struck gold in the second round.
So star quarterbacks.
So we've already talked about one tonight a lot. Mahomes. We can thank the Buffalo Bills for
Burrow
trading.
would be the next one.
No, the Bengals had that pick.
Okay. Then I don't know.
Tampa Bay traded the 7th pick to the Buffalo Bills.
Okay.
For Josh Allen.
That's right.
And the Ravens traded back into the first round to get Lamar Jackson.
That's right. I forgot about that.
So, but typically, over the history of the NFL and the draft, trading up, making those big trade ups to number 1, number 2, those trades don't go well. Mahomes was drafted at like 10. Josh Allen was drafted at 7. Lamar was drafted at 32. You don't have to give up as much capital for those trades. But when you're trading from like 8 to number 1, you give up a lot.
Right. It's a big sacrifice. And yeah, I guess you are right. When trading up, it doesn't work out because you're betting on a lot there, and it hasn't always, the payoff is not as always high as it looks.
You know, hindsight's 20/20, but going up and getting that guy, if that guy does not hit, you got a guy who's not playing well, and you've got guys that aren't on your team that should be on your team. And you always need a good group of young talent on young contracts to build on because they're cheap. So, biggest surprise of this season.
The Lions.
We've talked. The Lions were number 2. The Lions were number 2 on my list because I thought they'd be good.
Who's number 1?
So, this is a player, not a team. I guess you could throw the team in there too. CJ Stroud and the Texans.
Okay. All right. I would agree with you on that. I think the Texans really have become a formidable team behind him, and seeing them week to week has actually been exciting.
So before this, and the reason why I didn't take the Lions, before the season, we predicted them to win the division. Because we felt the Vikings would come down to earth. They won so many close games last year. The Bears just aren't good. And then the Packers have Jordan Love, and they're, again, have not been great this year either, right?
Yep. Sorry, Scott.
The Lions have – sorry, Scott. So the Lions have really feasted on that as well. But we thought they would be good, especially the way they ended last year. So that's where I'm not surprised by this. As well as the Texans have played and like they play hard, they're competitive. CJ Stroud is like a comeback warrior. Like they've exceeded expectations. So that's why the Texans are the biggest surprise for me.
I would agree. I still, the Lions are still my number one because I was expecting them to be good and still be like they were last year, still kind of figuring things out. I was not expecting them to be 8-2 right now.
Oh, Clayton. All right. We're going to hand out some hardware. Midseason hardware.
All right.
Coach of the year.
Coach of the year. Still I have to go to the Lions coach.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So there's 3 coaches on my list. And if I had to hand it to anybody right now today, Dan Campbell would get it.
Yeah. Campbell's been great in getting that locker room disciplined.
DeMeco Ryans is second. And I think, depending on how the rest of I mean, if we had to do it today, I think Sean Payton would be in the conversation. From 1-5 to 5-5, after your team giving up 70 points, like you have to get your players to believe in what you are telling them and coaching and what you're doing in your program. And he has done that. So that's where I think he would be on the list. Now, Dan Campbell, I think right now would be like, to me, hands down winner. Like
Dan's the man.
Sirianni, the Eagles coach, would be on the list, but like we already expected them to go, 8-2, 9-1. Like we already expected them to be really good. So is he I think it's still a tough coaching job when those expectations are so high and you meet those expectations. But I feel like it's not like a shock to us. And I think coach of the year usually goes to like what we feel is like a big surprise. So,
yeah.
We don't even have to talk. It's like rookie of the year. It's CJ Stroud.
Yep.
Moving on.
No question. Yeah, moving on.
The second one, this one was a little bit tougher. Rookie of the year, defensive. Jalen Carter of the Eagles. Did you see what he tried to do last night?
Yes, and I actually want to talk about that. So actually before the podcast, I was just going through my phone and a interview with him came up, post game interview, and they were like, "Did you plan to do this?" He's like, "Yeah," and he's like, "Where did you get the idea?" He's like, "I'd been seeing kids do it on YouTube and stuff like that." And they're like, "Did you tell anybody?" He's like, "No, I just figured I'd try it. It didn't work out, but I tried it."
Yeah, unfortunately he was offsides on that play. But
hey, I mean, an attempt is an attempt. You won't know if you never try, right?
Well, what's crazy is like it's something that is doable because normally the offensive linemen don't really try to block you that hard because they already know the quarterback's going to just spike it, so they really don't try to engage very hard. Mm-hmm. So it's very easy for you to try to shoot that gap and just lunge out there for the ball. Yeah. So,
I mean, hey, I hope he does it again, honestly.
He's a beast in the middle of that defensive line for Philly. There are times that I think as that guy continues to get better and better, he's going to be like the next Aaron Donald and Chris Jones. Just those inside guys that like you just can't block them. So and then the second guy who's actually coming on for the Seahawks, Devin Witherspoon, has been playing some really...
I've not been watching the Seahawks, so I'll need to get educated.
Devin Witherspoon, cornerback, just making plays, man. He's making plays. And it kind of hurts because they drafted him number 5. That pick was the Broncos pick. So if we could have seen Witherspoon in a Broncos jersey with Patrick Surtain, that would have been nasty. But if we did that, then we wouldn't have Russ. So give or take, right? Some folks would be okay with that, right? Some folks would be more than okay not having Russ.
I like Russ. I think he plays good ball. I like what he's doing. I hope he's gonna going to continue here.
So I'm okay with Russ. I like him as a person. I know some people corny, whatever. I'm corny. I'm a dad. Like, come on, guys.
I'm a nerd.
I
so
just
I have to be.
I just don't have
by
the
definition.
I don't have the whole world watching me, I guess. So I think that's going to be a close race down the stretch for defensive player of the year. This one, I was ready to just give the award, and then I think there's a conversation now. So defensive player of the year, right now, if you put a gun to my head and said you got to choose somebody, it'd be Myles Garrett of the Cleveland Browns.
Interesting choice.
He has dominated games this season. And he has had so many sack strip fumbles, sacks. He has impacted the game multiple times. Every time I watch Browns game, which anytime they're on TV, my son will watch it with me. And he shows up. But I don't think it's as cut and dry anymore. Because there's another guy that might break an NFL record in the next 7 games. Deron Bland of the Dallas Cowboys.
Yes.
Has picked up where Diggs left off. And that dude has 4 pick sixes this season. And if he gets one more, he'll break the record. Now, if he gets 2 more and he just blows the record away, now I think, again, here's a defender scoring touchdowns for his team. I think that's you got to start. I think you got to have him in the conversation at the very least.
Absolutely. He's doing good work, and the Cowboys are still doing good. I still like what they're doing. They still seem like a good, strong team. But I'm not a total Dallas hater like that. So, but I think I would have to agree with you in that. So
Clayton, being a Broncos guy and being a PS2 lover, I just don't think the national media is going to give him due because he's not making interceptions, touchdowns. They don't throw to him. Like, most of the time, they're just like, where is he at? I'm not throwing there. So a couple quarterbacks will try to make that. They'll make that mistake from time to time to throw his way, but a lot of them don't. And just like we saw with Champ Bailey, if they don't throw your way, man, people just forget about you. That's just how it works. Now, we know if you don't mention a corner's name during a game, you had a pretty damn good game. But it's all about those stats, right? And again, for most defensive players a year, they're going to go to the guy who has the most sacks. So if you're ever going to be a corner or a safety or a linebacker that gets the defensive player of the year, you've got to have all the turnovers or touchdowns, or you've got to have enough of those game-changing plays that your name is out there. So that's where I think PS2 won't get that. I don't think he'll get that recognition. Which is, again, we know how good he is.
That's all that matters at the end of the day.
Sometimes the country doesn't know, but we know. Here's the one I think is probably the toughest conversation right now when it comes to awards. And it's MVP. Who is the MVP of this season? And it seems like almost week to week, it kind of changes. So let's stew on that for a sec. And I'll give you if I had to give a guy the MVP right now, I'd give it to Tyreek Hill.
That's a thought.
I would give it to Tyreek Hill. His production is so crazy. I'm pretty sure he's over 11 to 1,200 yards or more. And I think he's got 10 touchdowns so far.
I think you're right. I'm looking right now. Yeah, he's over.
He'll
He's
be
got 1,200 right now. He's at 9 touchdowns at the moment.
9 touchdowns. He needs. So basically, he's got 7 more games to add to that. I don't know
Those
what
games
Miami
against
plays down the
Raiders.
stretch.
Or
Now
no, they already played the Raiders. They play who they play next?
they play the Dolphins or the Jets on Friday.
Oh yeah, they're gonna dominate.
Well, throwing the ball, the Jets are a tough defense, so I don't know if they'll go crazy. And I think as it gets cold, if they're playing out of Miami, I think we could see some of those numbers come down the stretch. But we shall see. But that would be Tyreek would be the guy as it stands today. The 4 guys that I feel like are right, 5. Actually, I've got 5 quarterbacks that are in the conversation week to week.
I honestly would put forth Jalen Hurts. That would be my number. I think if I had to pick, I would go with Jalen.
So Jalen is one of the top guys in my opinion. And I think, like, if you look at his passing and you see that I think he's got 19 and 9. So it's not amazing. But then when you add in his rushing touchdowns, now you're like, ooh, okay, that paints a different picture, right? And
Right.
And you can tell me how many like yards and touchdowns he's got if you've got that up.
Yeah, let me pull it up.
I know he did. I mean, he got 2 rushing touchdowns last night. So he's actually won the next game that he has.
So it looks
2
like he's
touchdowns?
got 15. He's got 15 touchdowns, and then 24, almost 2,500 yards.
Okay. Those are good, but not like great numbers. But then when you add the rushing in, I think that paints a different picture, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Hurts is on my list. Tua's on my list.
Yes, I was gonna say my 3 I think would be Hurts, Tua. It's hard to say, but I honestly would go. I would put Lamar in that conversation.
So I've got it's Tyreek, Hurts, Tua are my top 3 right now. Lamar is 4. Stroud. And then Mahomes is always, because of his name, he's in the conversation. Now, he'd have to play for me to. So when you win the MVP, and he's won 2 of them, you gotta do something special. Like we've already seen you do it, right?
Right. It's time. Like Mahomes has been doing the same thing. It's time for something explosive has to happen for this. Like I get it. He's like you said, his name brings that into the conversation always. But at the end of the day, like you mentioned, he's already got what you said 2, if I'm not mistaken, 2 or 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's got to do something impressive.
So
it's not
in 18. He won because he threw for 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns. And then he won last year. And last year, if Hurts doesn't get hurt and miss 2 games, I think Hurts wins it.
I would have to say so. That would be my pick.
Hurts went down, and then I think the last 2 games he played, they didn't put up like amazing numbers. They kind of rested, or they didn't really put out a lot of effort in those 2 games. They won, but they didn't really like dominate. I think that those 2 games he missed, during that time, Mahomes kind of turned it on and put up some big plays. So I think that's what kind of got him the thing. And I still think what Mahomes did last year with Travis Kelce and Juju and the other guys that are out there that suck.
I'm just getting.
He put up 40. He put up 40 touchdowns, and they won the Super Bowl. So yeah, he was MVP, right? MVP also, like if MVP should also be like in that consideration. Like if Mahomes got hurt, the Chiefs would literally be garbage. Like garbage might be rough. I don't see them winning more than 5 or 6 games if Mahomes got hurt. But
he's pretty healthy. He hasn't had any issues this season, I don't think.
Yeah, no, he's He's fine, and I want him to stay healthy because, again, football is better when the good quarterbacks are all out there playing. Great. He's great. When the great quarterbacks are out there playing, the NFL is better. Burrow being out for the rest of the season.
That's a big
awful.
change. Yeah, absolutely.
Like, when I look at it, like, the Bengals are a team with their defense and their offense, when their offense is clicking, that can contend with the Chiefs. Can contend with anybody in the NFL. They wouldn't beat the brakes off the 49ers in San Francisco. So, like, they have the team to compete. You take him out of the equation, it's done. It's
Completely.
like if Lamar goes down, the Ravens are out. They're done.
Like last year?
Like last year. So
And Lamar was my quarterback for last season's fantasy, and it destroyed me. Oh man.
So that's where I don't like seeing the top quarterbacks get hurt because it basically ruins that team. It waters down what we get to see on Sundays. And when we get to playoff time, we want to see Burrow and Mahomes. We want to see Allen and Mahomes. We want to see Lamar and Mahomes. We want to see Hurts versus Brock Purdy. Like, we want to see those big matchups.
Yeah.
Last year, NFC Championship game, Brock Purdy gets hurt on like the first drive, and we had to watch that whatever it was after he got hurt. It was awful.
Let's not talk about it.
And it was just like, oh, that's awful. So
it was some of the worst, again, probably the worst situation that could have happened, but it happened.
Right.
But what are you supposed to do at that point, right? You still got to play ball.
Right.
I mean, it wasn't much ball, but
it teaches you it's good to have a good backup quarterback at all times. So
absolutely. Although it is curious to see. So based on just was looking up the Vegas odds. So as of right now, the top three are Hurts, Jackson, and Mahomes. And that was posted today.
Right. That's quarterbacks. Like, Tyreek has slowed down a little bit the last couple weeks. Tyreek will literally have to break 2,000 yards. And I think he'd have to get to like 20 touchdowns to be MVP.
Yeah. I would have to agree.
If he breaks 2,000 yards and 20 touchdowns, that means Tua had a really good season. So then Tua might steal it from him anyway.
I think Tua, bearing he also stay healthy, I think he also has a good shot. I really do. With the Dolphins in the way that they are, I think I think he's got a good shot.
Tua's got to keep, like, they've slowed down the last 3 weeks. They got to start putting up 30 burgers again. Like, they got to get that offense, like, tuned up and moving again. Because, like, they almost lost to the Raiders this last weekend, man. Like,
and they're going through some of their own issues right now. They've got a whole slew of things going on.
So as it stands today, I'm going to go out on a limb. As things stand today, and again, the picture's only half done.
Mm-hmm.
The NFC is going to win the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah, I think the Eagles are going to take it.
So,
the
Eagles,
and I say that with all the respect for the Lions. I think they've got a good fighting chance, but I think they don't have enough to seal the deal. Although, if anything is to come of what happened last Sunday with being the clutch what they had been, I think the Lions actually could maybe make that happen. But I don't know.
So here's my thinking for the Lions. It's gonna take. They need to keep the number 2 seed, and they're gonna need Dallas or San Francisco to come to them, and they're gonna have to win that game, and then they're gonna have to go play in Philly. That's where I think it's gonna. I think that's where it's gonna be a little tough.
It's tough to play in Philly, especially in a playoff situation. The Phillies clutch. Especially at home, they'll clutch it up.
Now,
but with the hope that the Lions have shown in their team,
and that's where
I think Campbell's got it in them.
Now the 49ers, they need. I think they could use, home field advantage to their advantage. And I think they're a tough team to play. Like, again, I just keep thinking, I'm just like, man, the Eagles, Niners, Lions, Cowboys, those 4 teams. And I think any one of those
All
4
strong.
could beat any of the AFC teams right now. Now,
Hands down.
the Ravens, and that's what kind of makes it a little interesting. Like, technically, if the Ravens were able to make it, and the Lions, they already put a beat down on the Lions. Like, it was a beat down.
Let's not talk about it.
So, like,
it's
if that were
my
to
one
happen,
hope that they're going to come back. And I don't think they score off again in regular season, do they?
No, because they're AFC.
It's the AFC,
so,
yeah. So I think it'd be great to see that, but I think I don't know. It'd be tough. Because the only as you mentioned, the only thing in the AFC is the Ravens have got it going.
They're playing good football. They run the football. They play good defense. That goes a long way. So most of the games this weekend are pretty average. Thursday, like we talked about, we got the Packers playing the Lions. Lions are going to win that game.
It's a done deal. And I'm excited for this game.
I'm
Excited.
excited.
I'm so excited for this game. I'm going to my family's house. They're not big football watchers. So I'm like, I'm about to have this on my phone because I don't want to miss this.
Oh, hell no, bro. You'd be like, let's put this on the TV, guys. It's Thanksgiving.
Hey,
Thanksgiving.
I've heard through my brother that they were putting on some football earlier this year. So I'm like, all right, maybe let's hope, because that's what I'm hoping.
The Macy's parade is already over.
Yes,
Put on the football game.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's okay. Like, I've done that at my in-laws. Like, I've just literally turned on the game, and they know. Like, if football is on, Aaron's watching football, and they know. And
yeah,
again,
same.
They understand that. They're like, this is what he does. He'll watch football. It'll entertain him. And anybody else is welcome to entertain themselves watching football. If not, they can chat and drink and whatever they want to do. But I'm watching football. Right?
That's what it's my holiday. It's what I do.
Yeah. It's my day off on Thursday. I am going to watch some football, and I'm going to eat some pie.
Yes.
Like, those are the two things that are happening.
Again,
without a doubt.
Being the soccer guy I am, again, football for me anyway, when the World Cup comes, life stops. If there's games, it does not matter. I am watching them.
And now you won't have to watch them at like 1 a.m. So
gosh, when 6 years ago or whatever, 2018, that was brutal because I was up at 3 a.m. and with work and everything still, I was watching those games. I got yelled at so much. But that's dedication, baby.
No, God, I think one of my buddies was getting up and watching the Ryder Cup at like 2 or 3 in the morning. And I was like, bro, that's golf, bro. Like, come on, bro. Like, dude, you don't need to be up at 3 a.m. to watch
if
golf.
I'm watching golf on a Sunday, it's because I'm getting in my recliner and about to take a nap and then wake up to see who wins at the end.
Right. Commanders playing Cowboys.
Cowboys will take it.
Yeah, Cowboys are going to win that game pretty easy. Here's a fun stat about the Cowboys. Like, the Cowboys literally blow out all the teams in their division except for the Eagles. So if they're not named the Eagles, they usually blow them out by like 20, 30 points. So 49ers and the Seahawks round out the Thursday games. It's in Seattle. It's a division game.
The Seahawks will win that.
I don't think so, man.
You don't?
I just don't. I don't.
With
Geno
home
Smith
field?
is turned. No, well, last year Geno Smith, they win this game. This year Geno Smith, who's turned back into a pumpkin, the 49ers are winning this game, bro. 49ers are winning this game.
All
and
right.
the 49ers know, like, they've got a 1-game lead in the division right now. They're in 3rd place in the conference. I should say, I don't know if they're 3rd or 4th. They're tied with the Cowboys record-wise. They beat the Cowboys. So, yeah, they're 3rd because they beat the Cowboys. They got the tiebreaker. So, if they want a chance at moving up to number 2, they got to win this game. And they play the Eagles next week. They've got to have this game. They got to have it. So, yeah, I just don't see them losing that game. And if I've watched Geno Smith this year. I've got DK Metcalf in a league. I've got Tyler Lockett in a couple leagues. I've got Kenneth Walker in 3 leagues who just got hurt. And I've watched so much football of them. Geno Smith has not been playing good football this year. He is not. And I don't know if he's not seeing the field right or, protection's not been great. I don't know what changed from last year to this year, but he's not looking like the same player. So then we have our first Black Friday game. What a turd. Dolphins and Jets.
Well, we know who's not winning this game, and it starts with Jets.
Yeah,
I will say, however, I am looking forward to seeing the chemistry with the quarterback they're bringing in since Wilson has finally been benched. Took personally 3 weeks too long, in my opinion, but that's on its own thing. But I'm ready to see some new life come to the Jets. I was really excited for the season when Aaron Rodgers was supposed to be playing.
Oh,
I
love Aaron Rodgers. So.
I love that guy. He is such a great person to watch play football. I mean, you can't hate it. Again, I've never been a Packers guy, but whenever I knew the Packers were on, and it was no other game I was going to watch, I was like, Aaron Rodgers, let's go.
Right. Watching Aaron Rodgers play football. Now, he might be a douche off the field, or he may not be everybody's cup of tea off the field. That dude can sling the football.
He can sling the football, but I mean, he's brash and he doesn't care.
He does not care, and he doesn't need to. Right?
No, he's Aaron Rodgers. He doesn't have to.
So the Jets will be the Dolphins are going to put them out of their misery this weekend. So
I'm hoping it's another video game weekend for the Dolphins.
Buccaneers and Colts.
Which the Colts just had something happen. I saw through the news stream, didn't they?
They cut one of their players today.
Yeah.
Oh God, I don't even know, man. I don't even know. Bucs should kind of win this game, but they're so up and down. The Colts are up and down. I don't know. Who cares? We're moving on. Jaguars and Texans. That is a sneaky good game. Jaguars beat the shit out of the Titans this weekend, but it was the Titans. Will Levis is still learning. I haven't seen the Jaguars beat a good team. I mean, they played really good against the Chiefs. They lost to the Chiefs 17-9.
The only reason why I gave a sliver of a care about the Jaguars was the whole Toy Story thing that ESPN did. That was cool. Otherwise, I'm good. Trevor Lawrence, I like his image. I don't know too much about him. I don't follow him too much, but I from what I understand, he does some good work. But we'll see.
I don't know. So I think I hate on Trevor Lawrence because he's supposed to be like this elite generational talent, surefire guy that was drafted number 1. And every time I watch him, I don't see it. I just don't. I see a guy who can throw the football, but he's not elite in any way. No. Anyway. So I think Texans take that game. I think they do. I think they're the more physical team, and I think they're going to take it to them. Now, I say that, and they probably get blown out, but
isn't that how it goes?
Because that seems whenever I jump on the hype train, that just kind of seems what happens. That's a sneaky good game, though. 7-3 Jaguars, 6-4 Texans. Those two, I think both those teams can make the playoffs. So
they've got I think they've got a good contention for it. And again, as much as I'm I don't want to say I'm hating on too much, but with the Jaguars, I do think that they've got a good shot at it. If I had to choose right now of which one I'd want to go, I'd choose the Texans.
And then the next two games are turds: Panthers, Titans, whatever. Patriots, Giants.
Patriots
gross.
don't matter anymore.
Right. That's just
Although
watching how,
Belichick's supposed to be moving somewhere, I heard.
right. He's probably done in New England.
I think he's supposed to go to the Commanders. That's what I heard.
It's possible. Saints and Falcons. So
Saints. That's what I'd go.
both of these teams are technically, I think the Saints are still, Saints are number one in the division. So this is a big game, at least when it comes to the division, because the Bucks are 4-6, the Panthers are 1-9, the Falcons are 4-6, the Saints are 5-5. So this is for first place. So this is a big game. Not quite sure if Carr, he was not cleared from concussion protocol during the bye week. So right now we're still looking at Jameis Winston playing at the moment. Then we've got the Steelers and the Bengals.
Steelers will take it.
Unfortunately, the Steelers will probably win that game. It'll move them to 7-4, but they shouldn't. God, they shouldn't. Oh, they're really hard to watch. That is a hard game to watch. Rams and Cardinals, which record-wise, this isn't a big matchup, but just kind of seeing Kyler get back out there.
Kyler Murray.
Stafford's back healthy. Cooper Kupp is most likely out. They haven't ruled him out, but they're getting their running back, Kyren Williams, back. So this should be an interesting matchup. And then we've got Ravens and Chargers. I just want the Ravens to just nail that coffin for the Chargers. Put them out of their misery. And then we've got Bears and Vikings. If the Vikings, again, can win this game, I think they're putting themselves in that wild card position. I don't think they're going to beat the Lions for the division, so I think they can get into the wild card. So that's a big game for them to reestablish that. And then the game of the weekend is Bills Eagles. Really, Bears Eagles. So I think we already talked about Browns Broncos. Like that's an important game because both teams are fighting for playoffs. So that's important. But yeah, Bills Eagles. Buffalo put a whooping on the Jets last week. And that was mainly because Zach Wilson literally couldn't do anything. Anything.
Yep.
So what are they going to do against the Eagles? Right? Like, I'm so nervous on that game. I think the Eagles should probably win. But I think Buffalo could probably do some stuff against that defense.
Buffalo could do some work. It'll be a great game to watch, but I think the Eagles will still pull it out.
So, so far we've got the Eagles at number 1 in the NFC, and we now currently have the Ravens at number 1 in the AFC. Crazy to think. I thought the Ravens would be good this year. Lamar coming back, new offensive coordinator, but they've really exceeded expectations. So we've got a good second half of the season coming up. And this is where we start, usually after Thanksgiving is where we start seeing teams separate. We really see like all the really good teams kind of rise to the top and the bad teams really kind of fall, basically fall on their face and out of playoff contention.
Yep.
And then they're just playing for next season. So, all right. So enough about football. We've got a little bit of time left, Robert. Let's talk some nerd stuff.
Oh, man.
I know we talked a little bit about Marvel earlier.
Some big things going on in the Nerdverse.
There's a lot going on. I have not catched up with all the news coming out about Marvel. I know they've shifted some projects back. I've heard a lot about them changing up. Now they're not going to do Kang Dynasty.
Yeah, there's a lot of things going on with that, with number one, the Jonathan Majors situation, whatever you want to call that.
See, I thought he won his case. Like, what's the
It's-
situation now?
So he was acquitted, I believe, in one case, but it's still going to trial for another one because there's been other accusers that have come forward, and his agency has also released him. Pretty much every person that has stood behind him has dropped him, but Marvel at this point. So that's a kind of a big thing. And with how Loki just wrapped up and some of the things with that, a lot of them are taking this time to do a soft reset of what they were planning and probably now bring in Dr. Doom. And a lot of the slate that was coming with the writer's strike had been postponed. So the only big film project we are getting theatrically next year is going to be Deadpool 3. And that'll be the only Marvel project theater-wise. The other one will that we're supposed to get is Echo, which will be the TV show which they're doing under their new banner for this. I think it's called Marvel Spotlights, which I will say I see you doing this. However, it's bringing in more Daredevil, so he's coming in. They've already shown a quick scene with that in the trailer, but it seems like they're doing a lot of work with this.
I feel like the only thing interesting about Echo is the other people that are going to be in the show. Like, I didn't find Echo to be an interesting character. So
to me, she's not. Again, for me, I'm there for Kingpin. I'm there for Daredevil. Personally,
Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin is fantastic because he's so like
unhinged.
Well, he's normal, and then he flips the switch just like that. And D'Onofrio catches that. He's able to portray that in such a way that you're like, oh my God, that dude is literally nutso.
Yeah.
Like, he is literally nutso, but he's got a purpose as well.
Right.
He's got his underlying, like, what he's trying to get accomplished as
which you and I had briefly spoke on at work today, which with all the Marvel threadlings that are out there right now, I'm looking forward to going back to this one because there's been no real development in the New York Marvel since we really had seen Hawkeye. Right. So to kind of see this continue on, I'm excited for it because we're getting another forwarding in a story, which I'm really passionate about right now because I feel like there's a lot of moving pieces that haven't really moved in a while. So I'm ready for some new blood. I'm ready for some new light to come to the universe.
It's interesting. I don't know how well the shows have done, but a lot of the shows I've really enjoyed. Because again, you're getting 6 hours of a story.
Right. And again, that's where I would say for me, when I've just finished up Loki, the season 2, for me personally, it was more meaningful and iconic than Iron Man, Captain America, or Black Widow's ending personally. It really, yes, their stories were wrapped up with a pretty little bow and it was great, but for what Loki, even though it wasn't our Loki, for what Loki had gone through and had done for him to become this now god of stories, really solidified his place in the universe there, where everyone else is still kind of, I mean, of course, with, Iron Man, he's dead there, but that was so finite. There was no other way for it to go. It was one of those things where one of the two had to go, and then they went with Iron Man. In this situation, again, Thor had a great somewhat arc, but Loki for me definitely had the best story out of the original Avengers setting.
I mean, there's still multiple movies that I would still put above that, but it's such a good story. It's a great, again, since we're invested in Loki throughout his time in the Thor movies and then the Avengers and what he's like done throughout the universe. And then we see Loki and in this version of Loki, he's kind of redeeming himself. Right. And they they play a lot on like he's a loser, he loses, and he's fighting against that, right? He's trying to he's fighting to he's finally found something that he cares about more than himself.
Right.
And, I loved when he like had that realization in season 2 of like, why do I care? Why am I doing this?
Yep.
He enjoys having people around him. He's found a group of people that he enjoys being around. And
Yes.
I think
And
a lot of people could draw parallels to their own life of like, you can kind of feel like that outcast. You can kind of feel like that loser. And then you find that group of people that just like make you feel better about who you are.
right. And which for me, when being a behind the scenes person and being a person that I can pull, my family speaks in movie quotes and song lyrics at the dinner table. So I'm a big person about that. And when he is going through his last lines at the end of season 2, it is what he was saying from the callback all the way back to Thor, for all of us. And that was so meaningful and impactful that it just brought it all, full circle for me. I mean, yes, you got that with, I am Iron Man, but it just,
Right.
it for all of us in the day to just assume that God ability to now maintain all of these timelines so everyone has a life and it's not funneled in is just
Right.
anything. Again, with Secret Wars potentially coming here, there's just so many things that happen with that now.
Yeah, I'm interested. I don't know. I'm sure Kevin Feige has a lot to do with like the TV shows, but the TV shows have definitely been for me like hit or miss. Like I actually thought Winter Soldier and Falcon was enjoyable.
I thought
it was good.
That for me was honestly the best TV series
besides Loki.
Because again, Loki just brought so much to the table for what Endgame left.
You know what I really liked about Loki? And this is kind of a weird comparison. There are parts of Loki that I felt like I was watching Doctor Who.
Yeah. Well, because you have these unsolvable problems that take effort and repetition and things like that to really round out the resolve for what you need. And you got that with not just multiple episodes, but multiple people in different settings. And I thought they portrayed it perfectly.
But I saw quite a bit of elements of Doctor Who in that I was just like, hey, that's pretty cool. I like Doctor Who. So I've got Winter Soldier and Falcon. I thought didn't get the credit it deserved. I do think like I know what they were doing with the whole like trying to make it like making it like a choice for him to take up that mantle of being Captain America. Because they were making a lot about that of him making that decision. I wasn't quite as keen on that. Like, I feel like Falcon would have been like, no, man, somebody has to be Captain America. Somebody's got to be that symbol. But like then there's shows like for me, like Moon Knight was.
Loved Moon Knight.
I hated Moon Knight. So
I get it.
I hated Moon Knight as a Marvel, like,
I get
story. I think Moon Knight as a story is cool. And they're showing that, like, mental illness and him, like, trying to decipher things. Like, that's cool. But to me, here you've got one of your badass characters. Like, he is one of the badass characters of
He's
Marvel.
The Bruce Wayne of Marvel, man.
And like they did nothing. The majority, like 95% of that show doesn't show Moon Knight.
And that's why I say I get where you're coming from, because for me personally, I love the Mr. Knight personality more, just because I think he's so much more suave than he is.
Man,
Than he
I don't
is
care about no
brute.
Mr. Knight.
I
wanna
know,
see
I know,
Moon Knight
I
just
know, I
kick the
know.
shit out of people.
I know, and that's what I'm wanting to see. But I think with having now established Moon Knight as a whole with the different possibilities, they now can take that thread and go farther with it. Because and that's where I was hoping there was going to be some sort of introduction. Is there Dr. Doom's company was referenced in one of his daydream sequences when he wakes up and driving the truck. So that's already been planted and is there. And I'm like, let's go for it. But no, I know exactly what you're saying, because that was more focused on Oscar Isaacs portraying the different personalities than Moon Knight kicking ass and taking names, which is fine.
Oscar Isaac does a great job.
He's on his own multiverse path right now.
The show itself, I think, if you just take it out of the Marvel context, is a really good show.
Mm-hmm.
But
Werewolf by Night would be the same thing.
As a guy who's like a Moon Knight fan, to not see Moon Knight in his own goddamn show, like, just really irritated me really bad.
No, I get it, and that's why I say I understand where you're coming from. But I know you've read the comics. I've read the comics. That's why I'm like, I was okay with it. But yeah, no, I really wanted more Moon Knight to kick ass.
Right. I mean, that's what we're here for.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what else. Hawkeye. I enjoyed Hawkeye. I did like when they released it. It came out around the holidays. New York
was fun. Yeah,
New York
that was really
during
good.
the holidays. I thought Jeremy Renner and Kate Bishop, or the actress playing Kate Bishop, it just had a really good dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
It was fun. I like when they brought Florence Pugh in, and she was going with the actress. What is it, Amanda? Is it Amanda Seinfeld?
No, Haley Steinfeld.
Haley Steinfeld. Their chemistry was awesome. I just found that to be really enjoyable as a show. I didn't care as much about Echo, really. Kingpin was awesome. Kingpin's always awesome. Vincent D'Onofrio, literally,
he's just a badass, and he plays that character so well. And I am waiting. I know it probably won't happen, but I would love to see a Tom Holland Spider-Man, Vincent D'Onofrio.
Oh man,
meet up.
That'd be cool. And I just bet they haven't even talked about that. Well, I bet some nerd somewhere brought it up, and I feel like they just shot it down because they want to keep throwing these, Goblin and.
The thing is it's if you really, again, being that person that picks apart every little detail and stuff, a lot of the sequence happening in Hawkeye basically happens right outside Peter Parker's new apartment at the end of Far From Home. So you're like, where's Spider-Man? So it's there because all of that's present. It's here. So I'm curious to see where exactly the rest of that goes, because you have the world established. So what do you take from it now?
Yeah. Miss Marvel.
That was
I
fun.
Thought was a fun show. I didn't think they moved the story along that well, but I did enjoy, I loved the interactions with her family. I loved, again, they made a big deal of showing, that culture, which I thought they did a great job of. I just didn't think they did a great job of there wasn't a big bad villain really, which I think was kind of a big issue with that. But I love that actress in the Marvels. She stole the show for me. I enjoyed that movie probably because she was in it. So.
And I, having not seen it yet, but having seen the shows and seeing where Monica comes from, and having, again, I like the character Captain Marvel. Brie Larson just doesn't quite always bring it home for me, but I liked Ms. Marvel. I think she's hilarious. Her comedy is great. Her acting with that specific character is exactly what it's supposed to be, and she's the exact same in real life, and that translates so well.
Her being a super fan of Miss Marvel in real life
amplifies.
Yeah, and it just comes out in how she portrays the character, because she actually loved that character to begin with. So it just suits her so well. So she did a great job. in that movie. The end credit scene is awesome. As I messaged you, I geeked out over that.
Yes.
Super-
I know what happens. I'm one of those that, like, if depending on how it goes, I gotta know what at least happens in the credits. So I don't want to spoil it since it's so new, but yeah, no,
which I think Deadpool 3 is gonna do
bridge that
more
gap,
to bridge that gap.
which is again what we spoke on earlier is all of these Marvel threadlings. I'm hoping they start bringing.
Well, it sounds like Owen Wilson's in Deadpool 3 because the TVA is
Miss Minutes is supposed to be here, so there's some significant things going on with Deadpool 3, and I think I'm excited. I'm just hoping that they're not going to do too much with it. I don't want it to turn out like the Multiverse of Madness, where it's just a bunch of fan service in a way.
Right.
Which I hate to say that because I loved Doctor Strange. He's my favorite Marvel hero. Like, Doctor Strange is by far one of the coolest, and the over time and how his character is developed. To see what happened in the Multiverse of Madness shattered me. Like that. I was expected so much more.
It wasn't awful.
No,
it just wasn't amazing.
It wasn't Doctor Strange 2. It wasn't. It was, but it wasn't.
It's so funny because I remember before that movie came out, I went and watched What If, and the episode in What If about Doctor Strange. There's some of that in the movie.
Which season 2 coming right after Christmas. Every day we're getting an episode.
Sweet. Anybody out there who's still watching or may watch later, What If? What If may be... it's probably the second best thing on Marvel TV. Loki still being number one. Like, What If's probably better than Winter Soldier and Falcon.
Yes.
Because the stories they tell,
the stories are great.
The only story that was weird is when they made T'Challa Star-Lord.
But that makes so much sense, though. It's weird, but it makes sense.
That one was really weird. I loved the zombies. I loved Doctor Strange, the episode where he's got to save his love, and he can't, And that theme of like it's fate, it's meant to happen. You can't change it. What was the other one that was they had? They had
it's a canon event.
Captain Carter,
yes,
being Captain America. That was fun. So it just amazing, just amazing. And I think that's exactly like that whole thought of like, okay, what if this happened instead of what we know happened, right?
And the cool thing about that whole deal is there's already been some comics developed on that to aid in it, but it also put in a lot with the Disney medium, putting that into a Star Wars situation, which has been something that I'd be like, let's do this, because that would be very cool. But it with what they've done with it and how they're continuing to tell this story, it is wonderful. And the Doctor Strange episodes, again, being my favorite, were awesome. And with some of the other Marvel stories being told across other places right now, Across the Spider-Verse being one of them, it really is driving home these canon events, things that if you change time, you lose everything. Right. Which makes a lot of what's happening for that side of the Marvel universe very interesting with Beyond the Spider-Verse coming, which is a whole other conversation. But it really is bringing in a lot of these pieces with,
I know,
the tree.
We kind of moved Spider-Verse to the side because it's kind of a Sony thing versus like a Marvel universe thing.
I have my theories, but I didn't want to.
That is a fantastic storyline movie. They do such a great job. The music, the graphics,
it's a moving painting,
Everything's
and it's 6 different animations in a movie, and all of the stories that they've told and were able to bring to that was just insane.
I took all my kids to the second one. I took them to the first one. I took them to the second one too. And I will say, like, they were so mad at the ending of the second one, where you've got about 2 hours invested in the movie,
Mm-hmm.
and then it just ended without any resolution. They were so angry. And I was like, it's okay. We're getting another movie. That's more story to tell. They were like, no, I need to know what happens.
What now? And I loved the first one. When I had known that this was going to come out, the original of the very first one was coming out, I was very excited about it because it was a different take on Spider-Man. Because like Batman, it's been done so many times. But we're moving away from Peter Parker to a different Spider-Man. And I like that story. And with how they were able to not just bring the other Spider-Man, but apply it to what's coming for the future is just, I thought it was great. And my fan theories, which again, across the different companies, is that, you have the scene when he starts the canon events, it's a tree, which everyone was like, is this related to now Loki? And everyone's trying to piece together all of these things being interwoven and wrapped together somehow for the future stories, which I'm like, heck yeah, I'm there for that, because all of these spider people have been here and these are all happening across these timelines. So yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, I don't think they'll branch over. Like,
No,
I think they'll use that.
Won't, but
They'll use the idea, but I don't think they'll branch over. But they should, because it's just fantastic, man. It just did such a good job on that.
And with this writer strike having ended now, a lot of the actors went back to do the voice work for the third one, and they actually, I've got every little thing possible marked and to get notified about it. They actually released a quick storyboard for potential scenes coming in the next one. So I'm like, I'm ready. Watched it countless times, and I'm like, the soundtrack just gets better. The movie, it's just itself is a beautiful work.
I don't think I had the money at the time, but a couple months ago, they were doing the Spider-Verse at the Pikes Peak Center with an orchestra, playing the music. That sounded really cool, and I know a couple people that went, and they were like, "It was awesome."
Yeah, same. Yeah.
So
that soundtrack is killer. They've done a very good job with that.
So, what else is out there in the nerd verse that we should know?
Invincible, man. Invincible is happening.
I am not. I've heard really good things. My buddy Andy told me about that. I think I'm going to give him credit because he was the first one to mention that. I just haven't gotten a chance to say. I've still got a 12-year-old, so like I know that shows. Yeah, it's not one for kids to walk in and out of the room.
It's not quite the boys, but it's in between. No, Invincible is great. J.K. Simmons, again, that man can't go wrong with his voice. Loving him coming back as Omni-Man, which again, getting new episodes on Friday to further that. Having
still season 2 or just season 3?
It's season 2, so that's been the big problem. Is they did season 2 and season 3 voice work back to back and are doing more. So they are pretty much wrapping up all the animation for it. For season 3 now, so we're getting it all in order here instead of having to wait forever. So I am excited. I've got all 3 compendiums, so I've got all 150 issues. I love Invincible. It's a great show. You're sleeping on it, man.
It's on the list, but it's just something that's like it's hard to get time to watch those shows when I don't have somebody kind of running in and out.
Yeah, no, I get it.
The watching Game of Thrones was like the rewatch with the wife was tough because it was like pause. Okay, she's gone. Unpause.
Yep. And that's a movie where if you pause, you're like, wait, what I miss? I got to go back.
Right. So that's on the list. I still got to watch. I got to catch up on Gen V and check that out. Yes,
you do. Gen V, it's almost essential for the next season for the boys coming. There's a lot of implications. A lot of other characters start showing up. But personally, I actually loved this more than The Boys. The humor in it. I mean, it's a bunch of college kids with superpowers, so it really takes that degree in what we already know from The Boys universe and takes that and really runs with the idea of what can happen, and what has been happening.
Have you checked out Reacher on Prime?
I haven't. It's one of my things I've been wanting to get to. And with now having pretty much finished everything that has been coming out, Invincible's really the only new one. I'm gonna pick up Reacher because I know there isn't there a third season or fourth season coming.
Second season comes next month. So
okay,
So I go ahead and watch Twisted Metal first.
Yes, I know that's on my list.
If you guys haven't watched Twisted Metal, jump on Peacock, watch it. It's kind of funny. I know when a show is good and funny when if I'm watching it, the wife gets interested.
Right.
Because most of that, some of the off comedy, raunchy comedy, like the wife's not a big fan of overall.
Mm-hmm.
Scary stuff, real drama stuff, not a big fan of. This was just fun and kind of out of her normal wheelhouse.
Right.
And she was like, "Are we watching the next episode?" Like it was like she was
Good
involved in it. And if that's the case, I know it's good.
Cool.
Like it's just not me just enjoying it. Like she liked
there
it.
you
too.
go. Yeah. So. I'll it's on the list. I'll definitely check that one.
The crazy clown that's in it.
It's
Will Arnett's the voice.
Yeah, I was gonna say Will Arnett voices him.
Oh,
I love Will Arnett. To me personally, he has the best Batman voice. I love the Lego Batman movie. I think that movie didn't get enough praise personally. It's a great movie. It was one of the best Batman movies, honestly.
So that was good. And then Reacher, it's him being like a detective, but he's gigantic. He's calculating. He's measured.
Yeah, he's like I don't want to say he's a super spy, but he's the perfect spy.
Like they talk a little bit about his military, like special forces, really in the shit. They don't go into too much detail, confidential, whatever. But he's very like calculating, and then again, he's just brute strength as well. So I enjoyed season 1 a lot. I've watched it twice. It's really good. So I definitely would put that and recommend that. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I've checked out lately that's been really good.
Finally got around to watching the Masters of the Universe Revelations on Netflix, which is amazing. If you haven't seen that, it's so good.
I have not.
Mark Hamill does Skeletor, which is amazing. But I was not expecting half of what happened in this show, and it made it all that much more fun. That I reckon it's 2 parts. It's a total of 10 episodes, 30 minutes apiece. But yeah, they're great. I've been loving it. I actually got my little brother. He's like, "You're watching Masters of the Universe?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's the new one that came out a couple of years ago." And he's like, "All right, I'm coming over." And we binged it. And it was incredible. I was like, "Man, it's over? That sucks." But yeah, it was great. And one of the other ones I'm looking into, just to watch.
So, man, I tell you, I had every single He-Man figure.
There you go.
I had the castles. I had the slime pit. I had Moss Man, who was actually harder to get than you would think.
Really?
I had Skeletor. There was one, I can't remember his name, but like he had a little button in the back, and if you pressed up the button, snakes came out of his chest and his eyes. Gosh, He-Man was great. I had She-Ra. I had like,
yeah.
I had all of them, man. I had his beast that he rides. I had everything.
You should check it out.
Because I grew up in Germany, and those were like you could get those toys at the PX. I remember my poor mom. I remember. I don't remember which one it was, but there was one of them that had come out that I didn't have yet, and I had a full-on breakdown in the store. And I know my poor mom was just like, "Have you lost your ever-loving mind?" She was like, "You are not like you are definitely not getting that now."
Right? Nope,
Like,
it's not coming. It's done.
and I remember having a complete meltdown, and
Sounds about
like,
right. I've had one or two of those about some Star Wars items in my younger years.
and thankfully, to my mom's credit, she did not get me that toy until like 6 months later. So
That's good.
I still got it.
Made you work for it.
Right. I didn't get it. I did not get the instant gratification that I hoped me losing my mind would get. And that's back when parenting was real. I probably deserved getting slapped. Like that, good
Probably slap
in the back of the head.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, my mom didn't do that. She probably should have in that case. I probably deserved it. So, but yeah, I loved He-Man growing up. Transformers, G.I. Joe, they all have a place in my heart. So I will put it on the list. There's a lot of things on the list.
I hear you.
I still haven't got caught up. Like everybody's all Yellowstone. I haven't watched any of Yellowstone.
You should do this 2 Star Wars shows, Ahsoka and Andor.
That's on my list.
Those.
So I
do those.
I ran through Loki real quick. I'm gonna finish. I just started the Continental because I love John Wick.
I got to do that too.
So it's only 3 episodes. They're about an hour and 20 minutes a piece. So I figure I'm gonna knock those out real quick, and then if we're gonna have you back on talking Andor and Ahsoka, I probably should watch them.
Well, I mean, and there's going to be probably several questions brought up because Ahsoka almost mandates watching Clone Wars, and honestly, it also mandates watching Rebels. But there's a lot coming, and rest in peace, Ray Stevenson. That was probably one of the best portrayals of a Star Wars character in a while. I mean, there's been a lot of good characters these last few years, but there was something special about it. And I really am going to miss seeing him coming up because he's got a big role to play still.
And he passed away. So
yeah, he passed away, and the way that Ahsoka wraps up, it leaves a lot of big things in question with what's to come, especially with his character. So it hurts because for me personally, he also played the coolest Mandalorian. He was Darth Maul's right-hand Mandalorian, so his helmet's all decked out in a Darth Maul style. It's the best, but and he was the voice of that character, so he meant a lot to me in the Star Wars universe. But yeah, they definitely becomes mandated.
Rest in peace. All right, let's wrap it up. Robert, what is your final thought for the evening?
Final thought for the evening is I am just looking forward to actually watching a good Lions football game on Thursday. I'm really excited for that.
Ford Field is going to be just
it's gonna be
electric.
Lit. It's gonna be lit.
Electric. And
it's gonna feel the power.
Yes. And it's the Packers. Like the Packers are gonna be in for it, I think. They really are. So which sucks. So I have Jordan Love in a league. If the Lions will just let him score like 25 fantasy points, like just 25, and then you can blow them out. That's fine. Just give me 25. So, I'm excited to see a 7-3 Browns team play a 5-5 Broncos team. Who would have thought? Let's go.
It's gonna be a good game.
Let's do this.
It's gonna be
good. Knowing my wife, she probably wants it to be cold as shit because she's crazy and likes to go to cold games.
Why?
But
no, that makes for a long day.
I like it when it's cold. I don't like it when it's like freezing. Like I have to wear my overstuffed Broncos jacket that I have that makes it.
So you're all puffy and you're like,
like going to the bathroom is hard because you're just like, how do I like get this jacket
You're like,
everything
what?
else. And
It's like a Christmas story. I can't put my arms down.
it's not fun, but she loves it. So, we'll see. And then I'm taking my son, even though he's a Browns fan, when you take your son to a game and you just get to talk football, it's something I love and he loves. And, just having that is something special that I cherish. So
Awesome.
I'm going to have a good time with that. We're going to finish the show with what Caleb normally talks about. With this being the holidays, it's important. Cherish your loved ones. Spend some time with them on Thursday. Be thankful for that time. Friends, family, whoever's close to you in your circle, check on them. The holidays are stressful. So a lot of us go through life and we're able to hide, some of our emotions or some of the things that may be, hurting us or going against us. Just, throw out that lifeline and just say, hey, man, how you doing? Is there anything you need? What can I help with? Whatever you can do. And you don't have to do it just during the holidays. It's just one of those things that, I think we think about it. We think about it a little bit more during the holidays, but it should be something that we do 24/7. I know I try to live by that code of, if a friend asks me for help, I help them.
Mm-hmm.
Good old Letterkenny.
Yep. Hey, good show.
Very good show. So yeah, please take that time, check with your friends, family, make sure everybody's doing okay, because you just never know, right? And definitely enjoy time with family, because I've learned through the last couple of years, could be the last time you have them. You just don't know. So enjoy every moment.
Absolutely.
Go Lions.
Go Lions. Let's go. It's going to be a great game. I'm excited.
Restore the roar. Oh,
yes.
So cool.
Please.
All right. We're out, everybody.
Everyone have a good night.
Flame when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Simcoe's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast racking up the flight miles. So high, I might never come down, so what, this is my lifestyle. Wait a minute. Work hard for the car, so that's why it's all tinted. Wait a minute.